As far as regular season races go, they don't get bigger for the World of Outlaws. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Midco Motorsports. Well, August will be here before we know it, and for the greatest sprint car drivers in the world, that, of course, means the Knoxville Nationals. Last week, they'd get their one and only shot to turn some laps at Iowa's famed facility ahead of the sport's premier event with the annual Brownell's Big Guns Bash. Friday marked the first of two straight nights at Knoxville. Brent Marks leading the field to green alongside Sheldon Haudenschild, and it's the 19 pulling into the top spot just ahead of a surging Brian Brown. Blackjack kept the pressure on over the first few circuits, closing the gap to a couple of car lengths with a slip from Marks on lap 4. Shortly thereafter, Brown found himself fighting to keep the second spot. Logan Schuchart nearly picks him off around the inside, but Brown slams the door. Schuchart didn't give up. 10 laps later, wicked little slider between 1 and 2 gives the 1S the silver spot. Those two weren't done yet. 2 to go now. It's Brown with a good run on Marks, but the 19 blocks that bid, then manages to hold off the secondary charge from Schuchart as well. Marks just refused to let this one get away. After 30 attempts, the driver out of Myerstown, Pennsylvania finally gets his first career Knoxville Raceway win. The 360 sprints led off the main event portion of Saturday's program, and it was the guys who finished 1-2 in the points last year duking it out up front off the start. Reigning runner-up Jamie Ball doing all he can to stay in front of 9-time track champion Clint Garner. That, of course, is easier said than done, and the Sioux Falls native shows why right here. Garner slingshots around Ball on a restart with 13 to go. Ball didn't back down. Next time around, he answers on the inside. But Ball's luck took a turn for the worse just 2 laps later. The 4W slows on the backstretch with a flat right rear tire, and that would be it for him. As you might expect, Garner would take control from there. He led the rest of the way for his 46th career victory. To the Outlaws now, and it was 3-time defending series champ Brad Sweet pacing the field from the pole. Just behind him, Brian Brown looking to make something happen in a hurry. Great move from Blackjack here. Cuts underneath Brock Zierfoss to take over the silver spot. A little further back, Spencer Baston making a move of his own. He gets around Carson Macedo to climb into podium position. Focus back to the front. Brown still hounding Sweet, and he delivers another huge slider to grab the lead with 11 to go. Brown would seal the deal from there. He follows up Friday's third-place finish with his 6th career World of Outlaws feature win. But get this, it was his first since June 14th, 2019. Locally, the 410 sprint car field at Huset's offers the toughest competition you can find on a weekly basis. We'll introduce you to a guy that's tackling it full-time for the first time when Midco Motorsports rolls on. Locally, there is no greater challenge for a young 410 sprint car driver than attempting to master the high banks of Huset's Speedway against a ridiculously loaded field of competition. That's exactly what Elliot Amdahl is doing in 2022. He and his rookie run are the focus of this week's Driver Spotlight. A quick look around the infield at Huset's Speedway will reveal a number of racers that were destined to drive. Elliot Amdahl isn't one of them.
I never thought I'd be doing this. I probably shouldn't be the one doing it with how I grew up. I didn't grow up in a racing family, and just came out here with my dad on Sundays and kind of got hooked on it. And this has definitely always been my goal. Nothing I ever thought I could obtain, but now that we're here doing it, it just makes it that much more special.
Amdahl had some success in Brandon early in his career, claiming 3 combined feature wins between his micro and 305 sprint cars. And while he dabbled a bit in 410s in 2021, Amdahl is all in this summer.
It's definitely a learning curve. It's a different beast, but it's been a lot of fun, and just looking forward to learning and getting laps in this year. So the last 2 weeks they've had great cars here, so it's nice because it kind of lets you know where you stack up with them all, and when we can keep chipping away at their time, then it just makes you feel that much better.
The lessons, as you might expect, have been coming fast and furious.
You have to be on point every single night you get out here, and I feel like I've learned 10 times what I've learned in 6 years just in this 1 year. You got to look at things so much more every single week and make sure everything is perfect, because all these guys are spending hours and hours in the shop every week, or if not doing it full time and working full time, then trying to do this on the weekends. You just have to get your maintenance program better.
Amdahl is confident that he and his team will get up to speed sooner than later. But success, at least for this rookie, will be measured in its most realistic terms.
If I could get top 10 in points and then just put together a couple top 5 finishes, my highest goal would probably be to get a top 3, but we'll just kind of have to see how the season goes. And with the great partners that we've had, that's just made it possible, and they believed in me just as much as my dad's believed in me, or my wife, or my friends and everybody. So to be able to just say that we're doing it kind of gives you chills every week that you say you get to go to Huset's and race a 410.
Lineup change Sunday at Huset's with the Race Saver Sprint feature pushing off first. The 6K of Logan Kafka was first to the front, but he wouldn't be there for long. Lap 2, number 4 starter Sam Henderson flies by Kafka on the inside, and it was all 35 after that. Sam Henderson masters the field, leading 19 of 20 laps to earn his first career win at Knoxville Speedway, and he was fired up. The best race of the night featured the late model street stocks, that despite trouble on the opening lap. Ron Howe spins in turn 3, collecting a handful of cars in the process. When they got back to green, Mike Chaney took command ahead of Tim Dan and a hard-charging Colby Clausen. A couple of laps later, that 34K surges past Chaney on the outside, setting up a fantastic duel at the front. Fast forward to the final lap now. The two still side by side, with Clausen riding the middle and Chaney hugging the bottom. We've got ourselves a photo finish. Tough to see it here, even on a second look, but it's Clausen getting his first career Huset's win by 24 one-thousandths of a second. What a finish. There'd be more fireworks to start the 410 feature, but this was the expensive kind. An incident on the backstretch sends Justin Jacobsma and Colin Smith tumbling. Fortunately, all drivers involved were okay. Once they got that cleaned up, it turned into a one-man show with pole setter Brooke Tatnell running away from the field. He dominated from start to finish, ending the night with his first win at Huset's since 2006. One of TV's good old boys made a stop in Mandan over the weekend, and he brought his famous 69 Charger with him. We'll catch up with Bo Duke after this.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by Huset's.
Racing fans in Mandan were treated to a blast from the past over the weekend. John Schneider, famously known as Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard, made a pit stop at Dakota Speedway, and he brought the General Lee with him. Schneider spent time signing autographs and visiting with fans on Friday afternoon at the racetrack. As for the old 69 Dodge Charger, well, that was a hit with folks of all ages. They also got to see a different 01 in motion, with Schneider turning a few hot laps in his special edition modified General Lee. When he wasn't behind the wheel, the man who famously portrayed Bo Duke was fielding plenty of questions.
How many General Lees were there? How long did the show run? And did you ever date Daisy? 329, 7 years, and no. To continue to see Dukes of Hazzard fans after all these years, there are some that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s, which kind of makes sense. But when I run into a 6 or 7 year old Dukes of Hazzard fan today, it means the world to me. My favorite thing about coming to a track is the sound, the smell. I love to drive. I've always loved to drive. So everything about it. Because to me, this is what the United States of America really is all about. You know, it's competition, sure, but if you need tools you need an engine and somebody has an extra one, they'll help you put it in your car so you can race against them. The big difference for me when I'm racing on a dirt track is when I'm in a show or I'm doing a movie or do something like that, there's short bursts of speed and there's no one trying to be faster than me. So when you get out on a track like this, it's amazing because, you know, you think you're a badass until you get out on the track and people are passing you like you're standing still. And then it's really something to get out of the car and realize the person who just passed you is 12 years old. It is, it's very humbling.
The MSTS 360s were back in action over the weekend. We'll show you the highlights from their run at Rapid Speedway next. Good things come to those who wait. Troy Schurz can attest to that. After nearly 7 years without a win in any sprint car division, the driver out of Baltic, South Dakota, swept a pair of MSTS 360 races over Memorial Day weekend. Needless to say, Schurz was hoping a week off didn't cool him down as he looked to repeat his feat, starting with Friday's run at Rapid Speedway.
19 cars in the starting grid for this one, although just over half would actually finish the 25-lap feature. Lonsdale, Minnesota's James Brody was the guy everyone would be chasing. The pole setter weathered a storm of 3 cautions and 2 red flags to keep his 33 machine at the front of the pack. The 20G of Chris Graff was his toughest competition early on, but Caleb Johnson was going to have something to say about that. The number 6 starter chases down Graff just before the yellow comes out again with 14 to go. From that point forward, Brody would be Johnson's sole focus. The 22K slowly closes the gap over the next several circuits, waiting, hoping for a mistake from Brody, and he would get it with 2 to go. Just the slightest miss from the 33, and Johnson is there to pounce. He goes high to complete the pass as they leave turn 2, and that would do it. Caleb Johnson drives on for his first ever win in a 360 sprint.
When we started racing 360s 3 years ago, we knew we weren't going to win many races right away. We kind of tried to race against the best competition possible, and we started racing Knoxville every week, and then pretty much wherever we could race. So it's been a long 3 years. A lot of work's been put in by my guys, and luckily I got a lot of awesome sponsors. And then that hug with my dad kind of meant it all. My parents especially have been behind me ever since I started racing as a little kid. So I wish my mom was here to see it, but she works her butt off during the week, so she deserves a little rest tonight. But it was cool that my dad got to see this, so that kind of meant the world to me.
That was going to be a tough act to follow, but Jackson Mulder and Maya Christensen gave it a shot in the B-Mod feature. Mulder set a blistering pace in the 4 car, but the 87 hung right with it. In fact, a few laps in, Christensen looked poised to overtake Mulder, but the caution comes out just before he's able to complete the pass. Things got physical after the restart. Mulder and Christensen come together on the backstretch, and they would still be battling the next time around, only this time, sparks actually fly. Christensen wins the battle and the war as well as he fights off the defending track champ for his first win of the year at Rocky. Last but not least, it was time for the USRA stock cars. Rich Gregoire took command of this thing from the outside of row 1, and it looked for a while like he might go the distance. But Elijah Zievenbergen had other ideas. The driver out of Ocheyedan, Iowa had some work to do after starting 9th, but here he is working past Colton Ahrens for 5th. Zievenbergen up to 3rd for a late restart, and that was right where he wanted to be. Zievenbergen powers to the front, and there would be no catching him after that. Elijah Zievenbergen collects the USRA stock car win in what was just his second appearance of the season in Rock Rapids. Meanwhile, in Grand Forks, they did their best to beat the rain at River Cities. Kick it off with the Wissota Street Stocks, and it's the 7M of James Meager surging to the lead at the drop of the green flag. He gets some company in a hurry, though. Points leader Aaron Blacklance drives around Meager on the top side to take the top spot away. he'd keep the 5BA up front for the next several circuits, but on lap 9, here comes Tucker Peterson. The East Grand Forks native gives Black Lance a dose of his own medicine, completing the topside pass. It was mostly smooth sailing from there for Peterson, aside from this brief brush with a couple of back markers, as he gets the win in his first run of the season at RCS. Great battle at the front to lead off the Midwest Modifieds feature. Jamie Dietzler and Jory Berg both trying to stake a claim for the top spot, but it would be Dietzler eventually gaining the edge. Getting there is one thing, staying there is another when Lance Schill is giving chase, and here he is again. Schill started fourth, but he completes the short climb to first, and he would put it on cruise control from there. Lance Schill now 2 for 2 in Grand Forks in 2022. The late models would end up as the final race of the night. Everybody chasing Jesse Tunis early on. The Canadian had his 70 car dialed in to start, but sometimes that's not enough. Lap 5, Tunis slides a little too high in turn 3, and that was just what Dustin Strand needed. The 71S would have a little work to do from there, specifically to hold off Schill, who was seeking a Friday night sweep. But Strand was up to the task. He comes back from the previous week's DNF to claim his first checkered flag of the season at River City Speedway.
What was once just another South Dakota bean field is now a destination dirt track. We'll have more on Lone Tree Creek Racepark's first ever national event when we come back.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by Huset's.
Back in 2020, we introduced you to the Sorleen family of Scotland, South Dakota during an episode of Midco Sports magazine. Christian and Eric Sorleen wanted to build a dirt track in a bean field on their family's property, and after convincing their father Lloyd of the plans, they made it happen. Now, another one of their biggest goals has finally come to fruition. Here's David Brown with this week's Inside Track.
For more than a decade, Lone Tree Creek Racepark has provided one of the most unique vantage points and dirt tracks in South Dakota. The quarter-mile oval is more than just another place to race. It's a testament to family, friendship, and perseverance. And now that sentiment is shared nationwide.
Really something to see all these riders fast from all over the country to come participate at Lone Tree.
I still can't believe it. I mean, there's people from all over Tennessee, Missouri, New York, Illinois, Wisconsin. They have a great following.
The Midwest Extreme Dirt Track Series held its national motorcycles and quads race at Lone Tree late last month, the first nationwide event ever held on the Sorleen family farm.
Just awesome as can be, you know. Yeah. When I got the phone call from Billy Clayton, he called me up and he goes, "We was wondering if we could hold a national race at your track." I said, "Bring them."
Christian, he was always for it. We're going to have him here. We're going to have him here. And I didn't think it was going to ever come to reality.
Preparation for the races took a few unexpected turns. Severe weather in the weeks prior to Nationals led to some extra cleanup. But with the help of volunteers, everything was spick and span for the notoriously meticulous Christian, who told us about his perfectionism back in 2020.
I'll have Eric help me a little bit, but I do the final touches and everything. I'm picky. I was so worried that it wasn't going to be good, but it turned out to be just the guys are telling me it was perfect, you know, so I mean, what more do you ask for?
They absolutely love it here. They feel that the track is awesome. It's been a lot of work. We had family and friends come and help us and got us ready for the race. It's amazing that it got done.
The national event was a culmination of everything the Sorleens have worked for since 2008, when the patriarch of the family, Lloyd, finally gave Christian and Eric permission to build the track.
Well, the boys wanted to have a racetrack. I didn't know what they wanted for sure, and Eric, he was after me about 3 years. "Dad, let's have a racetrack." The more he talked to me, the better I felt about it.
Just months before the national race, however, Lloyd passed away at the age of 81.
Dad always loved coming out watching the races, and he found out there was a national before he passed away, and then he told me, he goes, "Boys, you're gonna have to make more room in the field."
It was just wonderful to see all the support, and Dad loved those racers just as much as we did, and to see all those people out here made us feel like Dad did matter.
When we're out here at the track, we just feel like Dad's out here with us, and it's just, think of him all the time.
After the overwhelming response to their first nationwide event, the Sorlings are confident they'll continue to hold more national races at Lone Tree in the near future. And the lone man who oversaw this entire vision remains a steady presence in everyone's hearts and minds.
I'm very proud of them, boys. They've done a good job. You bet.
With this week's Inside Track, I'm David Brown.
Lone Tree Creek has a few more events on the schedule this summer, taking place July 2nd, July 30th, August 6th, and September 3rd. Tickets for all of those are $10 per person, with kids 7 and under getting in free. For more information, you can check out the Lone Tree Creek Racepark Facebook page. All right, well, that is going to do it for us for this week. For David Brown and our producer, Levi Vanderwhite, I'm Jay Elson. Enjoy the races, everyone. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night for another episode of Midco Motorsports.